No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
How good of an auctioneer voice do you got, Grayson?
Probably not my strong suit, but I can try.
It certainly isn't mine. I couldn't even mimic an auctioneer if I wanted to.
I can't talk that fast.
I don't even know what auctioneers say. They talk so fast I can't even process it. But this is the type of show where it feels like we might need to break out our best auctioneer voices because we haven't done a show in 6 days, and holy smokes, there's been a month's worth of headlines and news and storylines that have been jam-packed into those 6 days as we kick off full week number 1 of Portal Combat. The portal opened on Friday. Stuff's already flying for Oklahoma, which is great. It's encouraging to see the manifestations of the work that the front office had been doing in silence in anticipation of the portal window opening. And I would have to go back and I would have to back this up with empirical data, Grayson, but it feels like things are starting to fire for Oklahoma a lot earlier in the portal cycle than they have in years past.
Yeah, and when you're coming off of a season where you made the college football playoff, you have some building blocks to work with. Also, the fact that you have a front office that has already been laying the groundwork for all of this over the course of the last couple of weeks, last month or so. It's easy to see why that is the case. Oklahoma's gotten itself positioned well in the NIL game. They've got their finances in order. It seems as if the addition of this entirety of the front office has expedited a lot of this, which is why in this day and age, you need a front office staff like Jim Nagy heads to be competitive and ultimately, hopefully, successful in this world.
Now, we mentioned before the portal opened that it didn't really feel like Oklahoma had huge glaring needs heading into the cycle. And they don't. They never have. The nucleus on this roster, the core guys that they're going to bring back from the 2025 team, those are going to be good enough in all likelihood to see Oklahoma through to contention in the SEC at the very least. But more than anything else, what this portal cycle is about and will be about for Oklahoma is just adding the bells and whistles here and there to build a championship roster. And thus far, as we sit here at 2:03 p.m. on a Monday, the Sooners have picked up 4 portal players already in the first 72 hours or so. 4 players on board with the Sooners, all of them coming within the last 24 hours, actually. So it's been there's been a lot happening this morning and afternoon in particular. But we got the announcement yesterday that the Sooners were officially on the board with Hayden Hansen, the Florida tight end, and we've been talking about him for quite a while, Grayson, is the guy that was probably going to pop first for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And he did. That was fully expected, but highly necessary. 6'8", 270 pounds, 1 year of eligibility left. He's probably your starting tight end next season. Regardless of who Oklahoma gets the rest of the way in the portal, I would say the safe odds are that Hayden Hansen is your week 1 starter next year at the tight end position. He's got 30-plus SEC starts to his name. That was a position at which Oklahoma made it a point to retool in the portal, and they acted very quickly to do so with the addition of Hayden Hansen, who will not be the last tight end that Oklahoma adds in this portal window. This morning, we learned that they had picked up a commitment from Western Kentucky transfer offensive lineman Caleb Nitta. And I really like this story, Grayson, because this was a guy that had FCS offers and only FCS offers coming out of high school, chose to walk on at Virginia Tech over going the FCS route, spent 2 years there, dropped down to the G5 level at Western Kentucky in 2025, had an outstanding season as the Hilltoppers starting center, and now he's on scholarship at the University of Oklahoma, playing for Bill Bedenbaugh. What a rise it's been for that kid. 6'2", in the neighborhood of 295, 300 pounds. So I think in many ways, this is your Troy Everett replacement. Primarily, this is going to be your backup center. That's the function that he's going to serve in a primary capacity. But He's more than capable of kicking out to either guard spot and providing depth and competition there as well. The Sooners got another offensive lineman within the last hour with the addition of Arkansas tackle Marion Harris.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm gonna interrupt you here.
Yes, by all means.
How do they see him? Because when I hear that news, I think that might be a guy that can start at right tackle and push Foje to right guard, which is where I kind of like Foje better at right guard, just from my eyes. How do they see that whole situation playing out?
I'll be honest. I don't think Marion Harris is your starting right tackle.
Okay.
In 2026, I think that's Ryan Foje. But in Harris, what you have is a guy that has over 24 starts in the SEC. To his credit, he played at Arkansas. He wasn't spectacular there. No all-conference nominations or anything of the sort, but plenty of experience in the SEC. He can play tackle. He can play guard. And Oklahoma needs depth. Since we last went on air last Tuesday, Oklahoma's lost Luke Baklenko to the portal. Mm-hmm. They've lost Logan Howland to the portal, and they lost Jake Taylor to the portal, in addition to Isaiah Autry-Dent and Jacob Sexton, who were already in the portal. So for a brief moment in time there, Oklahoma only had 3 scholarship tackles on the roster, and Fasusi Foje and incoming true freshman Deacon Schmidt. So they need tackle depth. Marion Harris is a viable option. He's somebody that I think and we talked about this last Tuesday as well, you're recruiting from a very narrow, very specific pool in this capacity. You're recruiting guys who are good enough to hold it down if their number's called, but not good enough that they're going to feel entitled to start when they show up. So I think Marion Harris checks all of the boxes in that capacity. But the biggest portal addition, the splashiest portal addition thus far for Oklahoma, is easily Virginia wide receiver Trell Harris. And what a job by Jim Nagy and the Oklahoma front office and Emmett Jones and the Oklahoma staff to go full throttle after Trell Harris and wrap this thing up in a hurry. The visit materialized Saturday night. He was on campus Sunday. He stayed till Monday morning. It was on Monday morning that he made the decision. This morning, I should say, within the last few hours, he made the decision, I'm going to be a Sooner, announced his commitment right around noon. And this is the number 9 wide receiver in the transfer portal, Grayson, an all-SEC guy that logged 847 yards and 5 touchdowns this season for the Cavaliers, who came within a whisker of the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. And so with the knowledge that, and we'll get to this guy in a second, with the knowledge that Oklahoma could still pick up Parker Livingstone as well, mm-hmm. to start off your wide receiver haul in the portal window with a splashy addition like Trell Harris, that gets a big 2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah, and boy, did you just, create another question in my mind. But let's start with what we do know. Trell Harris is on board. Parker Livingstone could, emphasis on the word could, be next. So basically what you're going into now is that you've got Harris, Javonte Gibson, who, by the way, we need to remind people that before he went down with the injury, a lot of people on the staff thought this was Oklahoma's best wide receiver. So we got to keep that in mind too. And then you could potentially add Parker Livingstone to that lineup. It's a pretty damn good receiving core for John Mateer to work with. In addition to, obviously, you add Hayden Hansen. And obviously, like you've alluded to, they're not done at tight end. So I think if there were any gaps to fill in terms of pass catchers, even if they add Livingston and then do nothing else, with the knowledge that you've got Manny Choice and Elijah Thomas coming up the ranks behind them as rising sophomores, you've got a pretty good room there. And the staff would have done its job getting weapons for John Mateer to play around with.
405-651-3439 is how you chime in on the text line. The show is brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. If you're in a market for a new vehicle in the new year, check out Dorsey Jones GMC. Of course, offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. And Dorsey Jones complements that with their outstanding personalized service, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Shout out to Dorsey Jones. But, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I about to launch into? Where did you kind of lay it out for me there?
that the front office staff has covered all its bases in terms of rebuilding that wide receiver room.
There it is. There you go. So I have way too much on the brain right now. Holy smokes.
Let me make it easy for you. And I'll ask you this question too, because they are in the process of trying to add so many wide receivers.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think, okay, what does this mean for a guy like Elijah Thomas and a guy like Manny Choice, given that we're coming off of a year where Oklahoma, for the most part, and by the way, I left out Jermichael Carter and all of that, but we're coming off of a year where Oklahoma really only played about 4 wide receivers. So where do you think that leaves E.T. and Manny?
Yeah, well, let's be clear about a couple things. First off, the norm at the University of Oklahoma is not to play 4 wide receivers and only 4 wide receivers regularly. That is something Oklahoma would like to get away from in 2026. They would like to have more depth. They would like to have more combinations of guys that they can roll out there, and I expect that they will, especially with what they're doing in the portal right now. But I also think the reason Oklahoma is pursuing multiple wide receivers right now, and it could be more than 2. It could be more than 2 that they add in the portal. I think the reason they're doing it is because they're trying to signal to a few guys that they should hit the road. Like, they're not going to just straight up push them out, but they're playing hardball with some of these guys and trying to make it clear to them, hey, you don't really have a place. You don't really have a role here.
What is the feeling on Satania coming back?
Satania, the expectation is he's going to come back.
Okay. And now after that, I will launch into this. Max Olson for ESPN reports Lloyd Avant has committed to Oklahoma.
Yes, indeed. So there you go. There's another one. The running back. Oklahoma has been in the market for a running back. 1 running back, nothing more. A third down guy, somebody that can contribute as a kick returner. Lloyd Avant fits that bill, former Colorado State Ram, former Tulsa Golden Hurricane. He was on campus yesterday, and it is over. So boom, there we go. Live, real time, we have another portal commit. The 5th for Oklahoma. It's 5, right? Not forgetting anybody? It's 5. What do you think of Lloyd Avant? Have you had the chance to really study him?
Yeah, all-purpose type of back that can do a lot of different things. I think he's a good complement to what you have already, because with Torrey Blaylock and Xavier Robinson, I think you have a nice 1-2 there. I didn't think you needed to pay money or expend even the energy and resource and manpower to go try to convince a running back that's better than they were to come over here. I think they're just fine in that regard. So to me, what you needed is a guy that you can do some different things with, depending on game situation and game flow and whatnot, and a dude who can step up in moments if it was an injury or something like that. So I like what they got in Lloyd Avant. I think he fit the archetype in terms of the player and the role that Oklahoma needed from their backfield. So I think this is a very good addition.
Mike Concho on the text line, 580 Mike Concho, asks, why would we not be in the Caden Durham sweepstakes? And it's because, well, first off, Caden Durham's going to cost a lot of money. And secondly, Caden Durham's going to want to be an alpha. And Oklahoma really doesn't need an alpha in the backfield. And there are many that are going to pan the addition of Lloyd Avant. They're going to ask, well, what kind of value does this provide? Well, you're not recruiting an RB1 in the portal. Oklahoma doesn't need an RB1.
Didn't need it.
No, they have Xavier Robinson. They have Torrey Blaylock. Both those guys are young. They're talented. They're proven. They have multiple years of eligibility left. Lloyd Avant is a guy that fits a very specific need for Oklahoma. This is a program that returned 2 kicks in 2025, Grayson. So if nothing else, if Lloyd Avant is a guy that Oklahoma can trust to attempt kick returns, I think it's a worthy addition.
A texter in the 405 says, Avant does not warrant a boom at all, won't see the field, and kick returns will be a non-factor. This addition sucks. That coming from a texter in the 405.
Okay.
I was about to say, that's a hell of a reaction there.
Why does it suck? What were you expecting? What does Lloyd Avant not do for you that you wanted the transfer running back to do for you? I think there are many that are going to look at this pickup and go, it's the anti-Jaden Ott, so give it to me. I think for as many people as there are that hate the Lloyd Avant pickup, there are going to be plenty that say, you know what? I really like this. Keep the expectations modest. This is a guy that he hasn't played P4 football yet. He's just kind of been chilling in the G5 ranks for 2 years. Let's let him come here and prove himself rather than bring a guy who's got a sense of entitlement and an attitude of I've already made it.
Yeah, I just don't think you needed a number one back. And to me, that would just be a bad management of finances and resources to bring in a guy like, it's popular on the text line right now, like a Caden Durham. I didn't think there was a need for it. I think Blaylock and Robinson are just fine. Now, can the offensive line get better in terms of run blocking? Absolutely, and that would help them out. But I don't think game-breaking running back, top-of-the-market running back, was a need at all. Now, you mentioned the kick return game. Is the lack of kick returns, was that because of people they don't trust, or was that a matter of coaching philosophy?
I think it was probably a little bit of both. I mean, again, if you have a guy that can make a difference as a kick returner, and Lloyd Avant can, why wouldn't you have that guy attempt to return kicks? But the guys that Oklahoma had back with the kickoff team in 2025 were like Jacob Jordan, Jaden Ott. Like, that was where we saw the most of Jaden Ott, was on the kick return team. And so if you were really of the mind that you're going to break this thing open with a kick return, you'd throw Isaiah Satania back there, but also Satania provided so much value at wide receiver that probably didn't really feel comfortable throwing him out there on kick return, especially with what happened to a guy like Billy Bowman returning kicks in 2022 when he was playing so well for Oklahoma at safety, and then his season kind of gets sideswiped by an injury that was suffered on kick return. So if Lloyd Avant's like your third or fourth string running back, and you're not getting more than 5-10 snaps out of the backfield for him every game, that's a guy you're probably a bit more confident and you feel a little bit more secure in cutting him loose in the return game.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Duval Sooner, I hope I pronounced that right. My worry is, will X and Blaylock going into the season be completely healthy?
I mean, why wouldn't they? It would have to be an injury suffered in fall camp, because with what Blaylock and Robinson were dealing with throughout the 2025 campaign, that ought to be ancient history by the time spring ball rolls around, let alone fall camp. So, yeah, both of those guys have been through, they've had their nicks and cuts and bumps and bruises, no doubt. But, yes, they should be healthy. If they're not, this is why you bring in a guy like Avant. This is why you signed Jonathan Hatton and DeZephan Walker, because you're confident that these guys can help carry the load if necessary. But the expectation is and should be it's the Robinson/Blaylock show in the backfield.
One more before we go to break. Big Cheeto on the YouTube chat says, will there be fallout with transfers incoming to current athletes wanting to leave? And I guess that was a weird way of saying, will these guys that are coming in result in some guys that we didn't think hitting the port, we're going to hit the portal, would they end up leaving as a result?
It's a possibility, but I think the overwhelming majority of guys that are leaving Oklahoma have already announced that they're leaving Oklahoma. I don't get the sense, like, you may see another 3-4 portal departures before the end of the portal window. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. And I don't think any of them are going to be super consequential. We're not going to have David Stone hitting the transfer portal like we did, like, randomly on a Friday night in April.
By the way, what a heart attack social media gave everybody this weekend with that David Stone graphic.
Yeah. Some questionable stuff happening there. Hayes has a lot of power. And sometimes,
I mean, right now,
he wields it in such a way that turns the OU faithful against him.
I mean, right now, Hayes is the most powerful man in the sport right now.
Man, you get that notification and you just see David Stone. What are you thinking? Oh, my gosh, he's hitting the transfer portal.
You see David Stone with a big breaking at
exactly,
the bottom of it.
And then you have to actually read the tweet to conclude, oh, he's not transferring. He just re-signed, got a new contract. He's coming back to Oklahoma. Okay, so we're all good here. All right, folks, we're overdue for an opening timeout. Let's hit 1-405-651-3439. Lloyd Avant, Colorado State running back, the latest portal pickup for Oklahoma just moments ago. 5 portal additions already on board for the Sooners. Much more portal talk ahead, including much discussion of today's ballyhooed visitor from across the Red River. That and more ahead here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
Good times are calling your way at the Showplace Theater with acts like Eli Young Band, February 6th. Matt Matthews, February 14th.
I was pretending to smoke a cigarette with a Cheeto, and I would share it with my friends.
Dylan Gossett, February 20th. And Christopher Cross, February 28th. Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
Life is yours to spend. Spend it making more money. Spend it making more memories. Spend it learning a new skill. Spend it teaching an old trick. Spend it career climbing. Spend it mountain climbing. First United Bank. Spend life wisely.
I'm Tony Goldwyn. As an actor and a director, I attend a lot of screenings. But there's one that's different. It's important, and it could save your life. A lung cancer screening. You know, I lost my mom to lung cancer when she was just 68 years old. Screenings help diagnose lung cancer early when it's most treatable, even curable. A quick low-dose CT scan is all it takes. Go-To for lung cancer is your go-to. Visit goto.org.
Landmark Fine Homes is a custom home builder in Oklahoma City. Our commitment is to build energy-efficient, custom-quality crafted homes around the metro OKC area. If you are looking to build your first home or last, Landmark Fine Homes is the builder for you. We have many floor plans to choose from, or bring us one that you already have. We have communities throughout the metro, or we will build on your lot. Call 405-347-5991 and let Landmark Fine Homes help turn your dreams into a reality.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Once upon a time, our family had trouble with pests around our home. Did you know that stinging insects send tons of people to the hospital? And teeny ticks and mosquitoes can be all around the yard. Their bites can make people and their pets sick. Mice, rats, and roaches need food and water just like us. You do not want them to visit. They can spread disease and make it hard to breathe. I'm sure glad this story has a happy ending.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
Children's Health Foundation has improved the lives of Oklahoma children with research, education, and care. For more than 40 years, Children's Health Foundation has raised over $155 million towards 18 pediatric initiatives, including cancer and heart programs. 75% of Oklahoma pediatricians are supported by Children's Health Foundation, and every cent raised stays in the state of Oklahoma. Change kids' health, change the future. Learn more at chfkids.com.
Wounded Warrior Project helps post 9/11 veterans and their families realize what's possible. With support and resources that bring warriors together and empower them to become stronger, both inside and out.
It's possible to begin healing.
To get the help you need.
To find peace.
And as each warrior's needs evolve, so do we. Because these last 20 years are just the beginning. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
Look at this. Western Okie Sky Chicken on the text line. Keeping it optimistic. Keep it on the sunny side, as they say. Lloyd Avant, 2 years experience, 1 career fumble. I already like him.
I'll take it.
Odds are you're not going to hear Lloyd Avant's name a ton in 2026, and that's okay. Odds are you're not going to hear Caleb Nitta's name a ton in 2026, and that's okay. because people love to slap the Jag label on guys. Just a guy. Grayson, you need Jags. You need guys like that.
Especially in this day and age where because of the financials, you can't just stack a roster. Like, you can't have 5 stars on your bench. Like, that's just financially not wise.
You need Jags, man. And part of the thing that made Oklahoma, part of the reason why Oklahoma was such a formidable team in 2025 is because they had second and third string guys that could come in and play quality snaps and make an impact. For instance, before the 2025 season, would you have cared if Marcus Strong had hit the transfer portal? Probably not.
No.
After the 2025 season, though, man, it stings a little bit. That Marcus Strong hit the transfer portal, not because he's like a Jaden Jackson or a David Stone level player, but because okay, when that dude's number is called, he's not going to be lost at sea out there.
What happened with that?
Just wanted to start, which is fine and understandable.
Yeah.
The Jag on the text line says, "You need Jags, amen." Mongo says, Jags are greater than whatever Ott was. Bust seems like an insult to busts. Yes, you don't want to be rostering busts, but any given year, you're probably going to have 40, 50 Jags on the roster. Out of 105 scholarship guys, you're going to have 40, 50 Jags. And then you'll have 20 guys at the bottom of the roster that just aren't any good. But it's really that upper third. That upper third where you need difference makers. Oklahoma needs guys right now more than anything else to fill out the middle of that roster, though. And Lloyd Avant fits that bill. Caleb Nitta fits that bill. The Sooners are after several others right now that similarly fit that bill.
And when you look at, you just take a look at some of the teams that are still playing right now and you just look at the construction of their rosters, those teams do not lack in the middle of the roster. And in a world where you're operating under financial constraints, just look at the NFL, the best teams have that middle 60% or whatever is highly impactful. So to me, it's not going to be, going forward, it's not going to be a race of, all right, who can have a bunch of 5 stars coming behind 5 stars coming behind 5 stars. It's no, who's going to have your most impactful, top third. And then when it's time to rotate dudes in or when it's time to replace guys who are lost due to injury, who can do that the best? Ultimately, especially as the playoff goes longer and longer, that's ultimately the teams that are going to succeed.
By the way, folks, you've been several steps ahead on all of today's portal happenings if you're subscribed over at OUinsider.com, which I cannot recommend enough this time of year with all that is happening and how much is happening in such a constricted timeline. OUinsider.com is the place to be. But this is where I give you the annual reminder at this time of year that even if you don't opt for OUinsider.com, if you want to stay up to date on the portal, then give your money to the good folks at Soonerscoop.com. Give your money to the good folks over at Sooners Illustrated, or come join the OU Insider crew. It should be one of those 3 outlets, though, because if it's not, you're giving your money to people who don't have firsthand access to the program really at all. 405-651-3439 is the text line if you want to chime in. But, yeah, I mean, people in our line of work right now, man, working the phone, sending texts, answering phone calls constantly. The first 2 segments of Steely and I's show today, I was on the phone with an agent in the first break and on the phone with Emarian Harris in the second break, getting his commitment story in the works. So there's a lot happening right now. OUinsider.com is where I would recommend that you procure all of your intel. Now, I got to keep it 100 with you people. And, when I say you people, I'm probably a little bit miffed. And I am, Grayson. I am, because some of y'all just refuse to find the joy in college football. And what I mean by that is this. There are so many of you that react to recruiting news by saying, I can't get excited about any of these guys until they step on campus and show me that they belong at the University of Oklahoma. I'll get excited when we're bringing in high-profile transfers come the portal cycle. And then the portal cycle rolls around. And you people are saying, I can't get excited about any of these transfer additions until I see with my own eyes if they can really play at the University of Oklahoma. Then I'll start to cultivate expectations accordingly. And then the actual season rolls around. And Oklahoma's winning football games. More often than not, that's what happens. Oklahoma wins more football games than they lose. And you people are saying, I can't get excited about it. This is clearly not a championship team. I don't know why I would be stoked about what Oklahoma's doing right now on the gridiron, because clearly they're not capable of competing on a championship level. People, allow yourselves, if you're going to immerse yourself in college football year-round, allow yourselves to find the joy in it. Choose to live on the sunny side, like our good friend Western Okie Sky Chicken. Choose to live on the sunny side. Choose to let yourself get excited about elite recruits. Choose to let yourself get excited about big-time splashy portal additions like Trell Harris, for instance. Choose to let yourself get excited about what Jim Nagy and the front office are doing and what Brent Venables and the OU coaching staff are doing. Because what is your life? What is your experience of college football if you're not allowing yourself to experience the joy that lies within?
Chris from Knoxville says, breaking news, Jesus has transferred to the University of Oklahoma. Some OU fans, can't believe we can't afford better. Look at who Indiana, Miami, Oregon, and Tech are bringing in.
There was somebody on the OUinsider.com message board yesterday that was like, well, why on earth aren't we getting elite wide receivers? And my response was, you do realize Trell Harris is a top 10 wide receiver in the portal, and Parker Livingstone is a top 15 wide receiver in the transfer portal, right? So it's almost as if there are people that have it coordinated in their mind such that unless OU gets the Cam Coleman type guy, then they're not serious about pursuing elite talent at this particular position. In all actuality, if the Sooners land Trell Harris and Parker Livingstone, I don't know, maybe I'm the sunshine bumper here, Grayson, but I like that outcome better than landing Cam Coleman, especially with what Oklahoma is going to spend to land those two in comparison to what they would spend for Cam Coleman. By the way, Sooner Hayes says, leaving out your boy Colin Kennedy at 24/7. No, that's Sooners Illustrated, Sooner Hayes. I didn't leave him out. That's Sooners Illustrated. That's the 24/7 affiliate. So, yeah, go subscribe to Colin at 24/7. Subscribe to Sooner Scoop. Subscribe to OU Insider. It should be one of those three, though. That's all I'm saying. Move along.
You know, it's interesting, though, because obviously the last time we talked about Cam Coleman, Parker Livingstone wasn't in the portal. Parker Livingstone wasn't considered to be a portal option. And, you know, I was one of the ones that was saying, like, I'll stand by it, that it was time for Oklahoma to go back to the days of having a dominant wide receiver, and that's why I was in favor of Cam Coleman, of bringing him in and paying the requisite dollars to do so. But if you're not, Livingston and Harris, that's not a bad pivot if that is ultimately what they end up with. And you're talking about them two along with a tight end or two. I think you've done pretty good for yourself. Now, I don't know if I'd say I don't know if I would agree with you when I say I would like that better than having Cam Coleman. But if you can't have Coleman and the Livingston option presented itself unexpectedly, that's a pretty good redirection, in my opinion.
Cam Coleman is a freak. There is no denying this. But imagine a world, Grayson, in which Oklahoma's three starting receivers next year are Isaiah Satania, Parker Livingstone, and Trell Harris. That's about as good as you're gonna find across the SEC. And when you can add in guys like Jermichael Carter and Elijah Thomas and Ivan Carrion and Emmanuel Choice and Giovanni Gibson and, don't forget Jaden Petit and Jasir Rogers coming in.
Okay, now.
Those two dudes?
Do all of those dudes stick around, though?
I mean, look, long-term, you can't accommodate this much talent longer than a year or two. So there will be guys that opt to move along at some point down the road, but those guys that choose to move along are probably going to be the guys that aren't seeing the field and are getting out-snapped and outperformed by other dudes. So as long as you're keeping the top tier around, as long as you're keeping the most dangerous, the most proven, the most impactful dudes at the wide receiver position, I would say you're okay if there's some turnover on that second and third line, if you will.
Christy on the text line, 405-651-3439. Does it look like OU will be able to retain Amarion Robinson?
I have heard nothing to the contrary. So, yes, I think Amarion Robinson's going to return next year. A 310 listener asks, is it Livingston or Livingstone? Dude's from Tejas, right? Trying to track who you talking about. Yes, it's Livingston. It looks like Livingstone. It should be Livingstone phonetically, but it's Livingston, as if the E is not there. Parker Livingstone. And we're going to talk more about him next segment. But as we wrap up some of these other storylines, Grayson, guys that Oklahoma is well positioned with moving forward and that they could close on in the coming days, I like where they're at with Alex Van Sumeren, the transfer defensive tackle from Michigan State. That'd be a tremendous pickup. He had 52 tackles last season. 52 tackles as a defensive tackle.
I was about to say, that's a lot.
That does not happen.
That's a lot for an interior defensive lineman.
Defensive tackles do not rack up 50-plus tackles in a single season.
Mm-hmm.
That does not happen. He would be a huge pickup. Rocky Beers, the tight end from Colorado State. I mean, Oklahoma just got one Colorado State transfer, right? Why not two? And make it two Beers while you're at it, because Reagan Beers is already here.
How they doing this at tight end with no tight ends coach?
That's a great question. And you know what? I think it comes down to a couple of factors. The first is money. The second is opportunity. And what they're likely communicating to these guys is, hey, regardless of who's coaching you, you're going to see the field in a high-octane offense, or what we expect and project will be a high-octane offense. And we're going to cut you a nice check. Somebody brought it up on the text line earlier. How hilarious is it that Joe John Finley is getting out-recruited by literally no one?
Nobody.
And, yeah, again, I think that goes back to the reality that Jim Nagy and the front office are running points on a lot of these portal recruitments and approaching it with a very business-oriented type of mindset.
Do you think it's out of left field for me to think that without the front office, those tight ends do not become Oklahoma Sooners right now in the event that there's no tight ends coach?
Hang on. Say this again?
If Jim Nagy and the staff were not here, do Hayden Hansen and potentially Rocky Beers decide to jump on to a team with no tight ends coach?
I would say it's a lot tougher sell.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that it doesn't happen, but it's a lot tougher of a sell and probably takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Hayden Hansen was done 48 hours after the portal opened. I think Oklahoma could have Rocky Beers on board in the next 24 hours, the way things are trending there. He was on campus yesterday and today. I like where Oklahoma stands right now with Rocky Beers. 388 yards, 7 touchdowns this past season at Colorado State. Things look good. So, with that in mind, should be a couple other wish list boxes that Sooner fans will be able to check when they're going through the list of portal voids, portal needs that Oklahoma has to fill moving forward over the next week and a half. All right, folks, 405-651-3439. That is the text line. We have one more segment to go on the other side, and let's talk about Parker Livingstone first and foremost. Parker Livingstone, the ex-Longhorn wide receiver who may very well be an Oklahoma Sooner by the time Week 1 rolls around in 2026. Could he take part in the Red River rivalry on both sides? He's undefeated in the Red River rivalry today. 2-0 as a Texas Longhorn. Could he be playing in that very game as an Oklahoma Sooner this October? We'll discuss on the other side. This is The Ref, the Oklahoma Sooner fans.
This is your home for Sooner fans. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
No one plans for an injury, but when the worst happens, count on the best orthopedic team to turn your setbacks into comebacks. Ortho Central's comprehensive care has you covered, from expert orthopedic surgery and sports medicine to in-house imaging, physical therapy, and even a bone health clinic. So whether it's a fracture, a tear, or just life catching up with you, we're here to get you moving again. Ortho Central, it's in our bones to take care of yours. Learn more at orthocentralok.com. Hey guys, it's Dory Noka. Have you been involved in an auto accident? If so, it's time to contact the OKC Car Crash Clinic of Dr. Martin Lopez. He's a board-certified and fellowship MD with unparalleled training and experience. Dr. Lopez works with a great team of healthcare professionals and attorneys to help you achieve the best physical and financial recovery. Contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH or at okccrash.com. Don't forget to listen every week to the Dory Noka Show for the Impact Player of the Game, brought to you by Dr. Martin Lopez.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Hey, this is Tyler McComas with The Rush, and I just found a place locally that I've got to tell you golfers about. It's called Land Run Links in Oklahoma City, and it's the most advanced, immersive, indoor golf experience that you're going to find. It's like a golf simulator, but it's a lot better, and it's going to help your game a lot more. But hey, even if you're terrible at the game of golf like I am, this is awesome for all levels. Check them out, landrunlinks.com, especially with the cold weather approaching in Oklahoma. Landrunlinks.com. Check them out today.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge on treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Donate today at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
As we wonder why our kids are struggling, someone is getting bullied. As we discuss how to improve their mental health, someone is being harassed on social media. As we wonder why they're skipping school, someone is crying themselves to sleep. Knowing the signs is the best way to prevent bullying.
Please just leave me alone.
Learn the signs at sandyhookpromise.org.
Per our indomitable YouTube producer, Blake Gamble, I am told that as of right now on YouTube, and we are on YouTube every single day via the KREF Sports YouTube channel, we are the third largest sports stream on the entire YouTubeverse. Behind only the World Cup qualifier, I guess, and Pat McAfee. It's those two, and then it's us. So, a lot of Sooner fans tuning in today for Portal Intel.
That ain't a bad couple to be behind, I'll tell you that.
No, I'm okay with that. I am more than okay with that. Now, for those just tuning in, Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton, here with you. We do this every single day. Talking OU football and recruiting from 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time here on Locked In. We know most of you are tuning in here in the state of Oklahoma, but there are those of you that tune in all around the world via YouTube and via the KREF app. If you would like to chime in here on the show, please do so at 405-651-3439. That's the text line. Just send us a text. Good chance we'll get to your feedback. Not a 100% chance, but we do our best to be as faithful in interacting with you on the text line as we possibly can. I need to take this opportunity, Grayson, to discuss the media scene down in Austin, Texas, because there are a select few down there, and I tip my cap to them. There are a select few beat reporters that cover the University of Texas that do an outstanding job, and they're professional, and they do good work, and they treat people right. But I tell you what, there is this contingent of media members that cover the University of Texas, and they are as homeristic and as tribalistic and as obnoxious as any collegiate beat in America, any beat anywhere. And you saw this, you saw evidence of this, I would say probably about 24 hours after the news broke that Parker Livingstone was hitting the transfer portal. Because initially, everybody was wishing Livingston well. As a guy that gave his all for the University of Texas for 2 years and didn't really want to leave, but circumstances dictated that he needed to find a new destination. And then at a certain point, I think it was Friday night, if I recall correctly, it was as if everybody kind of got on the same page with the PR spin with the whole ordeal. Yeah, but Parker Livingstone was offered a tremendously large NIL deal to stay at the University of Texas, and he declined, and he made the decision to leave of his own accord. He had a perfectly fair offer from Texas, and he chose to go bag hunting instead.
Where did that voice come from? Well done.
I tried to make that voice ridiculous on purpose because it's all so ridiculous. And look, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the Parker Livingstone situation. It's not my story to tell. At this point, as you can tell from the very classy statement that he put out on social media and his general lack of public acknowledgement of really anything else since he entered the portal, at this point, he's just kind of committed to moving on from the chapter of his life that he spent at the University of Texas, which he's very grateful for. He loved being a Longhorn, and that was obvious. Nobody ever questioned that about Parker Livingstone. He loved being a Texas Longhorn. It's not my story to tell, not anybody else's story to tell. If Parker Livingstone ever wants to tell the story of what actually went down at the University of Texas that led to his portal departure, that is his prerogative. But here's what I will say. The narrative that's been spun by the Texas media machine is laughably inaccurate. And I'm looking forward to when that kid comes off the board to either Oklahoma or Indiana, and it will be one of those two schools, so that this whole thing can just kind of disappear in the undertow. He is on campus today with the Sooners. He was on campus yesterday with the Hoosiers. It's going to be one of those two schools, Grayson. There aren't really any other contenders in the mix right now for Livingston. He wants to be either an Indiana Hoosier or an Oklahoma Sooner. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about Parker Livingstone because you and I have only been doing this show together for about a year. But the very first year that Tyler McComas and I did this show together, back in 2022, we talked a lot about Parker Livingstone. And it was because this kid has family ties to not to the University of Oklahoma, but to the state of Oklahoma, really coveted an offer from the Sooners out of high school, and it never came. Not because Emmett Jones didn't like him. Not because Oklahoma's staff collectively didn't like him. But the guy that kind of held things up, the guy that wouldn't sign off on the offer to Parker Livingstone was, unfortunately, the guy whose opinion mattered most, and that was offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby. Lebby was not on board with Livingston. There were many other P4 schools that offered and heavily prioritized him. Texas was one of them. He eventually settled on the Longhorns. They did a great job in his recruitment. But if Oklahoma had ever tossed an offer to Livingston, I truly do believe he would have signed with Oklahoma out of high school. Here we are 3 years later, and the Sooners have the chance to right a wrong. They have a chance to bring this thing full circle. And as things stand right now, keeping close tabs on Livingston's visit throughout the day. But It was fantastic news from an Oklahoma standpoint when he did not sign with Indiana yesterday, left Bloomington without making any agreement with Kurt Cignetti and his staff, and followed through on his visit plans to Norman. To me, and this is what I've been maintaining ever since Friday when the news started to circulate that Oklahoma would be involved with Livingston and would host him for a visit. If he made it out of Bloomington, I thought he was going to be a Sooner. I still think that right now. He made it out of Bloomington, I think he winds up a Sooner. At this point, it is on the Oklahoma staff to go and close that thing out today.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. And I don't know. I don't think Oklahoma had anything to do with the fact other than, hey, I want to take that second visit, the fact that he left Bloomington, Indiana without the deal. But now that you got the last visit, you and I talk about this all the time when it comes to the recruiting. You want the first visit or the last one. You want to make the initial impression and set the bar, or make the last lasting impression. And they're going to get the opportunity to make the last lasting impression. And they should get it done. And I think in terms of who you think your ones are going to be, between Satania, if he does come back, and Livingston, and Harris, that's a pretty good 3 wide receivers there. You have done your job as a staff, coaching and front office. You have done your job in terms of roster construction if going into next year, that is what we're working with.
Patrick says, been under a rock. Is he good? And yes, Parker Livingstone is good.
He is good.
Started this year for Texas as a redshirt freshman. 29 catches, 516 yards, 6 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he's Arch Manning's roommate.
Which made it kind of wild that he left.
Again, really wasn't his...
Right.
It was his choice.
Before all of that came out.
Yes. It was his choice ultimately, but there were circumstances that led to it.
Before all of that came out, I was shocked when I saw that I was like,
I was shocked too. I never thought Parker Livingstone was going to be anything other than a Texas Longhorn. Yet here we are. He's on the portal market, and Oklahoma has the chance to bring him home to Norman. And one dynamic I've picked up on is that, for one, Oklahoma's very motivated to add Livingston because they understand how talented he is and how much value he would add to their passing attack. But Livingston would also really like to go somewhere where he can play Texas. And that's another reason why I give Oklahoma the edge over Indiana, is because that's a dude that at every juncture throughout his career, he's faced doubters. He's faced people that question his skills. And he's gone above and beyond the expectations that people have placed upon him. And so when things ended the way that they did for him at Texas, it seems as though that then and there was a seed planted in Parker Livingstone's mind that, man, I'm going to show these guys that they should have valued me adequately. And what's the best way to do that? Go across the Red River to their most hated rival.
Yeah.
And show them up in the Cotton Bowl in October.
It's a pretty good way to stick it to them, isn't it? Hey, Drew from Flower Mound, commenting on your voice, says, Parker always does that voice, trying to sound like Xavier Legette.
What does he sound like? I don't think I've ever heard him.
You've never heard Xavier Legette talk?
Isn't he like the...
He's the one that sounds so deep Southern.
Yeah, like the South Carolina redneck?
Yes.
Okay.
Except that he looks nothing like you would think a South Carolina redneck looks
No,
like.
No, he does not. No, he does not. The face doesn't really match the voice.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of thing, huh? Patrick says, Revenge Edition. I like it.
Yeah, only real precedent for this in the portal era was when Brennan Thompson came over. And Brennan Thompson's impact at Texas had been minimal. His impact at Oklahoma wasn't completely insignificant, but he didn't do a ton while he was here. He didn't boom till he got to Mississippi State in 2025 and went for over 1,000 yards. I think he set the school record for receiving yards, actually. So, hat tip to Brennan Thompson. But Parker Livingstone is somebody that comes to OU with a lot more fanfare than Thompson did, if indeed he lands at OU. The Waffler said, answer my quarterback questions, man. What were the quarterback questions? Attention, Thune and G. We going with Bentley, Neubauer, and Jet New? Or are we getting another scrub quarterback? I have not gotten the sense that Oklahoma's going to add another quarterback. So I think you're living in a world where Bo Bentley, Whit Neubauer, and Jet New, at least for now, are battling it out to back up John Mateer next season. I hear the music. That means we're done. Still feel like we have so much more to discuss, and there will be even more to discuss that transpires over the next 23 hours till we next go on air at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So, for today, for this Monday, for Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. We will do it all again tomorrow, same time, same place. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Take it easy.